being the creator is a property that he acquires when he creates.
See what I mean?
Before he creates, he's not the creator.
Exactly.
Of course
That's
he's
what
not. He has the ability to do that, but it has not been exercised. He has the ability because he's omnipotent.
So when you have the
both
ability,
can acquire
you're not called a
properties.
creator. Just like the writer and the author.
Are you a writer before you've written anything?
No, but in order to be an author,
Don't
you
use
need to be a
analogies,
writer.
please.
Of course I could use it.
So can you be a writer without writing anything?
Josh, if you can use analogies, why can't I?
Sorry, 1 second. No, it's a weak analogy.
Well, your analogies were completely weak, the one you present.
I'll tell you why it's weak.
Why?
1 second.
In order to be an author, do you need to be able to write?
1 second. No. 1 second.
No.
I'll ask you, to be
Why
a
not?
writer, you just put the term writer. To be
No, I
the
use the term author and writer.
No, you
But
said
you
it
only
again.
picked on one.
No, you picked on the...
Very selective, like
1
Mansur
second, I'm
said.
not being selective.
You are.
Do you want me to address the one thing as well?
That's the problem when you're a Christian tradition. Always selective definitions.
Okay, give me the analogy then.
Okay, in order to be an author, do you need the ability to write?
You need the ability to write.
Yes. In order to be an author?
Yes.
Okay, so you cannot be an author unless you have the ability to
Yes.
write. Yes?
Yes.
When he writes something, yes?
What happens?
Sorry, when you...
He becomes an author.
Wait a minute.
That's the exact
Wait a
point.
minute. When you write the alphabet, are you the writer?
Sorry?
Are you a writer when you write just the alphabet?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
But are you an author?
No.
No.
But you're bringing two different...
No, I'm not.
One second, man,
I haven't finished.
Hashim, 1 second,
Let me
1 second.
finish.
Okay.
Now let me relate that to how God Almighty is.
No,
God
no, no,
Almighty.
one
Wait.
second. Before we
Wait a
even go
minute,
to God,
wait
no,
a
1
minute,
second.
wait a minute.
Your analogy doesn't work.
My analogy was connected to
Can
the
I
Trinity. Let me
Well,
just finish.
No, Hashim, 1 second.
Josh,
Can I
you
just-
said to let Mansur
please, I
finish.
asked-
Sorry, you told Mansur let your point finish.
Okay,
Let me finish my point. So you're telling me that unless and until God manifests his action of creating something,
He's not the creator.
he's not considered a creator.
Yes.
Okay? But he has the ability to create already.
Yes.
Right?
Which is omnipotent.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you have the ability to do something,
Yes.
are you not that?
So can I
Just like when you have the ability to write, are you not a writer?
No. But no. Listen.
Not an author, but are you a writer?
Hashim,
Not in Christianity.
I ask you, let me...
They change the meaning of words.
Hashim, let me address your point. 1 second.
Secular philosophers say this as well.
Yes. Thank you for that, actually.
The secular
Yes.
philosophers say,
Yes.
unless you create something, you're not the creator.
Yes, that's actually true.
Really?
Yes, it's true. So 1 second. Well, Mansur, I will address that. Thank you for that, man. But can I just address your analogy? Your
Yeah,
analogy
go
is flawed for the reason.
Why is it flawed?
You brought two different properties together. The
Related.
property, one,
Related.
passion. Now you're going to let me speak, please.
After this, I'm going to come back to this unconsciousness.
Okay, we will, but just let's address
Because that's
this.
where Christ...
Mansur, please, man. Now you've
No, I am
touched on me.
saying,
Let him
you
finish.
can do all finish, but after this, we'll
By the
get
way,
back.
Okay.
before you came, he said that the Son and the Holy Spirit wouldn't exist without the Father.
Yes.
Yes, he believes that.
What's the issue?
They're
okay.
not God to begin with.
The issue is...
Matt, I can't ever address an issue.
Okay.
It's like impossible.
Go on.
So, with your analogy, you brought two different properties together. The property of being a writer and the property of being an author. You can only be an author if you've authored something. You can only be a writer if you've written something. So even if I have the ability to write something and I've never exercised that ability, I am not a writer yet, am I?
No, but you have the ability to write.
Good. So you're with my point.
Okay, so
you've got my
wait
point.
a minute. When you have the ability
Yes.
to do...
Am I a writer?
But
until I've
Josh,
written? Yes.
you know the point you're missing is
Yes.
this. Unless you have the ability to
Yes.
write, you
Yes.
can never write.
Yes.
So one is what do you say? You have the ability, and then the other is you manifest that ability into actuality.
Good.
So wait. Without being a creator, you can never create.
No,
Without being the ability to write, you can never be a writer.
I beg you, Hashim.
One is
Hashim.
the ability
Okay, 1 second.
or the
Hashim.
potential. Let's use the
No,
term
Hashim.
potential. The
Hashim.
potential to
Hashim.
do something
I-
and to actualize that
Hashim,
potential.
I ask you,
Very
please,
simple.
Listen
I don't
to
know why
what
you
I'm
don't
saying.
understand.
Listen to what I'm saying. The property of being able to create, which we are talking about now, yes, is the property of omnipotence. The property of being a creator is when you exercise.
Two different
Let me
properties.
finish. Yeah,
Two different
good.
attributes.
I thank you. Thank you very much.
Not the
So,
property of omnipotence.
1 second. When you exercise your ability to create, so when God exercises his omnipotence, he then acquires, he then has this contingent property of being the creator of the universe. Because the problem that you'll have, 1 second, if you say that God is the essentially or necessarily a creator, the problem that most philosophers will have is that, well, to be a creator requires what? A creation. And so creation will have to exist necessarily with God. So
For us, yes.
So
For us
second.
mortals, I
So,
agree.
no, 1
but
second.
for the one who is always had these
No,
attributes eternally all the time,
No,
that
I'm
is
saying
not the
if you
same.
Hashim, I'm
Two
saying if
different
you
things.
understand
I want to come
the
back to this point because
if
I
you-
think
last point.
last point.
If you understand the terms, it will say that if God is the creator, he has the property of being the creator. Being the creator is a relational property. It's not a monadic property. It's a property that something has. So let's say an
For
example-
you, yes.
No, just
Not for
listen.
God Almighty.
Oh my gosh. Come on, Matt. Just listen to what I'm saying. A relational property is a property that an entity has in relation to something else. So I have the property of, let's say, being a meter away from you. That's a relational property I have to. But having the property of the ability to be rational, the ability to be conscious, those are monadic properties that I don't require you in order for me to have. Okay, I have them in and of myself. So, one second.
Talking about an entity,
One second, let me
I
finish.
think you should differentiate
I ask
between the creation and the creator.
Let me just say
You should do that.
Let me just say the last
cannot
thing.
apply-
Let me say the last thing, please. When we say God is the creator, we are saying God has a relational property. He has a property in relation to something else, a creation. He is the being who has created all of reality. Okay? So reality has to exist in order for God to have this relational property. It's not a monadic property that he
Really?
has, like his omnipotence, like his omniscience, like his perfect goodness, and the other properties I told you.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So I want to
what
address
the
this.
issue is. So anyways,
No.
sorry. So the whole point we brought up, God then, a relational property is a dependence-based property. You have to have it if something else exists. If you don't have, if that thing doesn't
Let me
exist,
address
then
that.
you don't have
Let me
it.
address this.
So
Let me address
your
this.
God is also,
Hang
if
on,
you
let me address this.
say he's the creator,
Let me address
he's
this.
dependent as well. Yes.
Omni-
That took a long time. to
is God
establish.
omnipotent?
Yes.
So where did he apply his power to demonstrate his power, that he's all powerful?
Sorry, say that point. I didn't get your point.
If God is omnipotent, meaning his ability, he has
does he
the power.
manifest his omnipotence?
Where did he manifest his power?
What, for him to have that ability?
Remember you said,
I didn't understand.
he is not the creator
Yes.
unless a creation exists.
Yes.
If he's omnipotent, how can he be omnipotent when he hasn't manifested his power on
Okay,
anything?
good. So do you, I said, so that's a monadic property.
Now explain to me how.
Yes, so monadic property is a property.
Without the jargon.
It's not jargon, man. It's just, okay.
Without the jargon.
Okay, monadic property, I always define my terms. So I'm saying it's a property, it's something that someone has independent of everything else. So let's say I have the weight of weighing 100 kilograms, okay? I don't need you in order to weigh 100 kilograms. But for me to have the property of being 1 meter away from you, I have to be next to you. You have to exist in order for me to have that property. So what I'm saying to you, omnipotence is a property that God has independent of anything else. He doesn't need
How
to
do you arrive to that?
1 second. He doesn't need
No,
to.
before you 1 second.
1 second.
How
just
do you
last point.
arrive to
Last
that?
point. Because power is understood to be a monadic property.
No.
that's
Understood,
an assumption.
understood. It's not understood.
Why is it a wrong
How do you
You're just
it's not
assuming
a priori assumption. Are you saying this is
Sorry,
axiomatic?
one second.
One minute.
Yeah, sorry.
Are you saying this is a priori assumption, axiomatic?
Yes?
Right. Why is being uncaused not a priori and axiomatic?
Sorry, being uncaused. Being uncaused is a relational property.
I'm saying
So what's the issue?
someone who exists.
I didn't say it's not axiomatic.
Let me address the point, because I know you have a formulation in your belief when you're trying to defend it and failing to defend it.
One second.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Can I just say the last
No,
point?
let me finish.
Okay, finish your point.
Just like you're saying, let me finish.
Okay, sorry then.
A being who is worthy of worship has to be someone who has this essential property of being uncaused, without anyone bringing them, generating them, preceding them, or begetting them.
Why would it need to have that property? Tell me.
Because a being who is dependent on someone else is a being already dependent. Someone who is what? Dependent on their own existence on someone else. How is
Sorry,
it?
why
let me
is that?
finish.
Why
How
is that great making property
Let me
being
tell you,
uncaused?
how is it
Yes.
a being which is already dependent on their existence for someone else worthy of worship? Because the one being who is worthy of worship has to be absolutely independent.
That's an assumption, but you haven't
It's an
shown
assumption.
it.
I am
So
saying
ask you
this is a priori axiomatic.
So I ask you now.
Do you agree with that?
No.
So now, wait, let me finish. So I now brought to you an axiomatic a priori belief where the God who is going to be known as God and worthy of worship has to be independent and self-sufficient. That's how the Quran presents to the whole world. This is the concept of God, which is the right concept. You were saying, no, it doesn't have to be. Likewise, anything that you say in your belief system Again, they're debatable. It doesn't have to be. So your idea of some philosophers here or most philosophers agreeing, it doesn't do the job. Why? Because you're committing the logical fallacy of appealing to authority. Instead of saying,
You're doing the same thing.
who did I appeal to? Who did I appeal to?
You're appealing to Islamic philosophy and understanding. You're not even making use of the top scholars that exist today.
I am saying, no. I did not appeal to a particular Islamic. Who did I name?
Did I name one? Someone?
You were about to.
Sorry?
You were about
Was
to.
I about to? No, I wasn't.
Yes, you were saying,
No.
name the scholars.
No. When did I do that?
No, you were about to.
Mansur.
Let's
So
get
now,
back to the main
let's go back to the main point.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you again.
Yeah.
You are saying you can worship someone who is dependent on someone else for its existence,
Yes.
and you consider that to be worthy of worship.
Yes, and what's the problem?
For example, you can consider this gentleman worthy of worship who is dependent on his existence on someone
I'll
else.
repeat what I said earlier. To be worthy of worship has necessary and sufficient conditions.
Defined by who? These philosophers.
Gosh, man.
These philosophers.
Mansur, man.
You are.
I ask you. No.
I think we said.
I'm talking. No, I'm talking. No, so I said necessary and sufficient conditions. So
And who defines them?
One second.
Certain philosophers.
1 second. And okay, I ask you. What if they do? What's the issue? What if they do?
I disagree with them.
And what's the, and tell me why.
I'll tell you why.
I should take your disagreement.
A being
Yes.
that considers my worship,
Yes.
that I'm going to submit to that being,
Yes.
who himself needs to submit to someone else, I consider this to be what? This is an imperfect being, not
And why is it
perfect.
imperfect? Tell me.
I'm just telling you, dependency.
Well, why does dependency?
For
make
example,
someone
okay, I'll tell you why. If I am in need of my own living, sustenance,
You're
on
contingent
my
on someone
life,
else.
I am totally dependent on someone else. How am I maximally perfect?
maximally perfect? So I ask you, what are the necessary and sufficient?
I just told you.
No, 1 second.
Being uncaused.
Name them.
Being uncaused.
Name.
Being uncaused. Being self-sufficient.
There are other conditions
So,
as well.
Now, I'm telling you, I'm going to focus on these two.
yes.
Being uncaused and being independent and self-sufficient.
Yes. Now I ask you, why are they necessary and sufficient conditions?
I just explained to
And
you.
don't tell me because
how
you
many
feel-
times have I
What?
explained to
Mansur,
you?
let me finish.
You are
You're gonna-
PhD holders, you should
No,
understand that, right?
Mansur,
No,
I ask you.
I have explained the fact that someone or something is dependent on their very own existence is not maximally
And
perfect.
why? And why?
Why? Because what is a maximally perfect being?
I am asking
A
you.
maximally perfect being is someone who is perfect in all their characteristics.
And?
That means if that person has a life, that life would be perfect. A perfect life is something that is not given, but something that someone
Why
inherently
not?
possesses.
Why?
I just told you.
No, tell me. No, you think you just.
You never told
us.
You know,
So
A
a
life-
being,
wait,
one second.
wait.
A being to
Let
be
me
perfect
explain.
has to be
Let
independent.
me explain.
Why does it have to be
Let me
independent?
explain.
Because it's perfect.
A life,
Circular reasoning.
a life that is given, and then a life that is eternal, which is more perfect than the other.
Sorry? But one was
A life that is given by someone else,
Yes.
and a life that is inherently possessing, which is more perfect.
Okay. Now I ask you this. You've again conflated two different
No,
properties.
explain to
One
me.
second. No.
No. In the attributes of life, because a divine being must be alive. In the attributes of life, I know it's difficult for you because you've got PhD holders and you're wondering how to answer that. In the attributes of life, you have one being, a life that is given, and another being life inherently possessing. Which one is more perfect than the other?
Which one's more perfect than the other?
Yes.
acquired, one is
So okay,
inherent.
good. So thank you. So one that's acquired, one that's inherent.
Yeah.
There's no difference.
There is no difference.
Now tell me why. No, but I tell you.
No,
but I tell you why.
that's
No, but